Joining me today in the Capital TV show, Simone Ledeen. She's former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense. You are most welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
We can see your approach about the latest news on attacking Israeli-linked oil tanker of Oman last week. It kills 2 crew members, and U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken accused Iran, and I think Europe said that Iran is responsible on this attack. What do you think that can change on the side of negotiation between U.S. and Iran?
Well, in my opinion, I think that this is a game changer. After what, in my opinion, are several game changers, this really, when you're talking about loss of life, that's a real game changer. And I think that, in my opinion, the talks should be halted, and there should be real demands made on Iran to stop its malign behavior and disruptive behavior. We're now talking about stopping world shipping because of the danger of these Iranian attacks. Mm-hmm. I believe we need to stop that. And in order to stop that, we need to stop the negotiations immediately.
Exactly. Our friend Norman Rule, he's expert in Iran, said minor sanctions will not deter Iran or its proxies unless Tehran understands that its attack threatens the operations of its entire shipping sector. Such attacks are likely to continue. So what do you think?
I think Norman Rule knows more about this than almost anybody, and I completely agree with his assessment. And I think because I agree with him, I will repeat, I think that we need to stop our negotiations and we need to start a different track of activity in order with our partners in order to get these activities to stop and to stop immediately.
Can we go so far to put the elected president, supposedly elected, Ibrahim Raisi on trial, or can be held accountable?
Well, I mean, that's a very interesting idea. There is an international court where such an activity could happen. I think, unfortunately, in the short term, that's not going to solve any problems that we're facing right now and that our partners are facing. I think the most important thing right now is to show that we are reacting and the world is reacting negatively to this activity, and they're not going to get what they want from it.
Mm-hmm. Do you think, on the other side, that Israel is no longer the enemy in many strategic circles across the Middle East?
Yes. I think the Abraham Accords has opened up a whole. I think the Abraham Accords in some ways acknowledged what was already the case. There were a lot of relationships being built quietly, and I think the time was right for them to sort of come out of the closet and declare we are partners, we are working together. I don't think, and I hope in my heart that it's not finished yet. And I hope other countries will also sign up to the Abraham Accords because they see there's one country that's a source of instability in the region, and it's not Israel, it's Iran. Mm-hmm. Country that's better equipped to address the problem of Iran than Israel, who has been working very hard, for example, to keep Iran from getting the nuclear weapon, which I know is a goal for many other countries in the region as well.
Exactly. Israeli Foreign Ministry condemned the European Union's decision to send diplomat Enrique Mora to the swearing-in ceremony of Iran's new president, Ibrahim Raisi. Do you agree on that?
I completely agree, and I hope. I know this decision was made prior to the recent attacks in the Gulf. I cannot imagine that the European Union are not embarrassed by this, because on the one hand they go and acknowledge this farce of an election, which we all know was not a real election at all. So embarrassing on that one hand, and then secondly, for this attack to happen really against the international community, including the European Union, just really at the same time, or really several days prior, is embarrassing for them. Mm-hmm. And I think it's something that should be reconsidered, and perhaps there should be a statement made that that it was a mistake.
It says, let's talk about Lebanon. It says when it comes to corruption in Lebanon, sometimes it's hard to figure it out which is worse, the sheer numbers of millions stolen by officials or how long it's been going on. But the real problem in Lebanon, as many people said, is only the influence of Iran supporting Hezbollah and covering all this corruption. So Hezbollah is the main responsible on this chaos in Lebanon. Don't you think so?
I do think so. It's tragic what's happened to the beautiful country of Lebanon and its people. It's incredibly sad, and it is a result of widespread corruption. And Iran has fed off of this corruption. It's allowed Iran to really take over the government, and the government of Lebanon really doesn't exist. They're just these elites who are taking money from the people who are paying, and the people who are paying today are Iran. So I think for several years, it's been clear the direction that that Lebanon, the Lebanese economy has been headed. It's been very sad, like I said, because it's something it has not been possible to stop. There was a point in time when if the elites had stood back and said, okay, we care about our country at the end of the day, and we want the best for everybody, we're going to step aside and let new people come in and actually fix some of the problems. That I think there was a window for that. But unfortunately, that window has closed. And every day we see more and more reports of the desperate situation that the Lebanese are in as a direct result of Iranian involvement and Hezbollah. And if that's not enough, Hezbollah is planting weapons all over Beirut and other parts of Lebanon in civilian areas, and just further shows their lack of care for human life, because terrorists don't care about human life, as we know.
Yeah, this is what you said on your Twitter too. France is seeking to gather $357 million in aid during a conference on Lebanon. Paris and the United Nations are co-hosting a donor conference for Lebanon, coinciding with the 1-year anniversary of the deadly Beirut port blast last year. Do you think that this can fix the problem definitively, or this is, and what is the role of France toward Lebanon crisis? To solve it?
I have a lot of respect for the French in many respects. However, I think this is a pretty cynical political move, because I think anyone who understands what's happening in Lebanon knows that amount of money is not going to fix anything. They need like trillions of dollars, is my understanding, and that's not the amounts that we're talking about here. So I think, first of all, it's a public relations message rather than actually trying to fix anything. And given that we were just talking about the problem of corruption in Lebanon, how do they propose to actually get those funds, even to, let's say, humanitarian like medicines or, food for people who are starving? There are real needs, but they're not going to permanently fix any problem. So I do question, what is this really about?
Through your experience in anti-terrorism or counter-terrorism, how do you think that the Biden administration should behave toward these militia that are supported by Iran, including Hezbollah and Houthis and maybe Hamas also? We can consider it as one of them.
Well, I think, first of all, that some very serious mistakes were made very early in the administration, because under the Trump administration, where I worked, we had added many names, Iranian-linked names, to our terrorism list. And that allowed us to levy sanctions against them, block finances, etc. That included the Houthis and obviously Iranian-aligned militias in Iraq as well. So with respect specifically to the Houthis, as we all know, they were delisted. So they're no longer a named terrorist organization, unfortunately. That was in an attempt to start negotiations with the Houthis. Houthis are not interested in negotiation. They want a military victory. And they keep, the situation in Marib is very desperate right now. They keep trying to take over Marib. So far, the Yemeni government and the Saudi-led coalition is holding, but it's a very challenging situation that, unfortunately, the Biden administration is not helping. The humanitarian calamity there continues to play out. I don't know. It's very clear that their policy is not working. So I think we were quite effective with our sanctions. I think that the Houthis should be relisted. I think that the Biden administration should consider adding some additional names from the Iranian-backed militias in Iraq. The situation in Iraq, we could speak a whole other session about. It's another very unfortunate situation where the depth and the level of corruption has really ruined the lives of normal Iraqi citizens who are just living in very difficult conditions as a result of the corruption that Iran takes advantage of and continues its malign activities. So while all these people are suffering, Iran is not only destroying its own country, but the entire region.
Yeah. How do you evaluate the meeting, Biden meeting with the Prime Minister Kazemi, and the decision to withdraw partially from Iraq, but totally from Afghanistan? How that makes our partners, our U.S. allies in the Middle East feel safe while they are withdrawing?
Well, I think that, first of all, the rhetoric about Iraq, the meeting from this last meeting with Prime Minister Kazemi, was, I think it was an exercise, another public affairs exercise. So, for example, we haven't had combat troops in Iraq for quite a while now. But I think Kazemi needed to go back to Iraq and say that I got the Americans to say they were withdrawing. My understanding is we don't have an intent to withdraw the rest of the troops that we have there and the other capabilities that we have there. So I think, I want to make that clear. That said, the language and the withdrawal from Afghanistan are very, the way that it happened, especially in Afghanistan, has been very unfortunate. I think that in the United States, good people can disagree about should we stay longer or should we not. We've lost many people. We've spent 20 years there. We've spent a lot of money there. And so I understand, I'm very sympathetic to the argument that, what else are we going to achieve there? That said,
but as a result of this decision, don't you see that it's empowering Taliban in Afghanistan and similar activity or similar militias in other countries? It's encouraged them, no?
I completely agree with you, and I don't think that the way that we have done this withdrawal has been correct. So I don't think we should have had a full withdrawal. I think we should have left some troops there for counterterrorism and for intelligence purposes. There's a lot of talk about over the horizon, are conducting over the horizon operations, which means like drone attacks from drones that are based elsewhere. Where is the intelligence going to come from for informing those attacks? That's those strikes. That's not going to be available to us anymore because we've withdrawn. So I don't think that's a fair argument that the administration is making, and I wish that they were more honest about what is going to be possible. But I do think what is incredibly alarming is that we have left the Afghan people who signed up to work with us. I'm not just talking about the interpreters, but the tribal leaders, the Afghan army who have served with us and trained with us for so long. In my opinion, we have abandoned them. And we, especially those of us who served in Afghanistan, I spent 2 years there myself, are horrified to be watching this story unfold, and very concerned about what it means for other partners as they're watching this. What are they going to see? What are they going to take away with them in terms of the what a partnership with America means?
Finally, members of the Egyptian Air Force arrived in United Arab Emirates to take part in joint military exercises. How do you see, from your experience, this kind of collaboration, defense, military, and especially the power of UAE right now in the region as a leadership?
Well, I think it's a wonderful development. I congratulate the UAE and Egypt for this phenomenal activity and partnership. It would be great to see it expand further. The UAE has certainly become a regional leader, and I think their leadership, we should applaud their vision in sort of stepping up to this role that they realized they could take. And I think it benefits the world and certainly the region. And again, I hope to see it expand. Egypt is a country that people I don't think talk about enough. I do believe that it is a very important relationship. The Egyptians are sort of fighting enemies on all sides, except for on the border with Israel. They have a terrorism problem in the Sinai. They have civil war in Libya. They have the Muslim Brotherhood from within. There's a lot of challenges that they're facing, but they continue to solve. Look at the problems that they just solved in Gaza with the ceasefire. They're very important players in the region. And it's wonderful that the UAE has recognized that and sort of taken their hand. And I hope to see more of that in the future. And again, I applaud both parties for that.
Simone Ledeen, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.